Oh my god. We have a show, Lucas.
Yes, we do, and it's called Button Mash. Welcome to Button Mash, folks. I'm your host, Lucas Schmidt, and with me is...
Always, with him, as always, is Joe Noop. Yep, this is Button Mash BSU, home to Ball State's finest gaming news and commentary. Let's jump right into some news. How about that?
Yeah, well, just recently announced the Xbox One finally has a release date. Sony,
thank God.
Right? Sony had already announced theirs. Theirs will be the PlayStation 4 will be releasing on November 15th, and it is now known that the Xbox One will be launching 1 week after on November 22nd. It'll be totally worldwide, but you'll need to concern yourself with that because you're here in Muncie, Indiana. So it's U.S. release date is the same.
Basically. You think that will affect them at all? Because, I mean, I've been listening to some people on like GameTrailers.com, Epic Battle Cry, talking about just release dates maybe not mattering in the long run, as long as they're not crazy far apart, like the Wii U's already out. They had their moment in the sun. Do you think that's going to negatively affect Xbox? Because they're already kind of... They're getting back up there, I'll admit, but like they're still lagging a little bit behind in terms of public well-wishing.
You know, I can't really imagine the 1 week difference really making any of a difference. I mean, I can't see anybody. I mean, I'm sure there's always exceptions, but I'm hard-pressed to think that anybody is going to get the PlayStation simply because it's coming out 1 week before the Xbox. Like, it's not that big of a deal. People are going to choose what system they want based on what their friends are getting, what games they want,
the price of the console,
various other
what
things
they can
that we could go on all day talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to be like that big of an issue for anyone who thinks it might be, because I remember the Xbox 360 came out a full month before the PlayStation 3 did, if I'm not mistaken, close to anyway.
I thought the PlayStation 3 came out before the Xbox 360.
No, I think you're
wrong.
Oh wait,
no, you're right.
Because I camped out for that sucker.
Xbox 360 did come
back
out
in November.
Before PlayStation, yeah.
And I mean, we all know how that turned out. The Xbox 360 was king of the hill for a while there, and it's just now sort of starting to become a even keel as far as quality of games, quality of customer service, and everything like that. I'm interested to see what differences it makes, although I don't really think it will make too many differences. All right, I've got a news story for us here. Minecraft has reached 33 million in sales. Escapist is reporting, IGN reports the franchise has sold 33 million units across all platforms, and the PC version has now sold over 12 million copies. Along with future releases on the Xbox One and PS4, sales are likely to continue increasing. With mobile versions of the game, in addition to versions on consoles, PC, Mac, and Linux, it's likely people have bought different versions of the game. I think this is amazing. For those of you who aren't in the know, Minecraft is essentially adult Legos. You enter this virtual world and you mine for materials to build almost whatever you want. I've seen people build the Star Trek battleships and everything like that. I've seen someone build a 2-scale model of Middle Earth, and it will take you a couple days to get across it, you know? Like these massive projects by entire teams of people building these things and getting to share it with people across the world. I think that's amazing. What do you think, Lucas?
It really is an alternate world. And it really is, the perfect description is not so much a grown-up's Lego, but really just a modern-day Lego. I mean, kids play it so much. My little brother, I mean, he's 10 years younger than me, and when I was his age, I was building Legos all the time. What he does now, he sits in his room and plays Minecraft all day, doing the same thing, but on a computer screen and with his friends too, which I'm kind of jealous because my friends didn't like Legos, and that was always upsetting. That was my my lonely little kid hobby.
I had the freestyle Legos, which is basically all the afterbirth of just the terrible Legos that nobody wanted. So I was like, I'm going to build a race car, and it would look like just an abomination. Oh man. Okay, so I'm interested to see, like, this seems like the final push for Notch, the creator of Minecraft, to just become an industry figurehead. He is synonymous with indie gaming right now. He is king of the hill.
Oh, he really is. He's leading the ship on it. For those of you who don't know, I mean, as Joe just said, Notch made Minecraft, and when I say made Minecraft, I mean like all on his own, solo made Minecraft. Up until, I mean, obviously, it took off pretty quickly. It became fairly popular when it was still an alpha, and then continued to grow in popularity through beta version, and then all the way up until its actual release. And he's formed his own studio since then. He's got people working under him. They're working on a new title or two as we speak. But yeah, it's really a testament to just the fact of like we've reached that point where one person can take their vision of a game and make it work. And it comes to fruition, and it can sell like crazy.
And not only that through that vision of his creation, people can create their own achievements, building these massive structures and showing people like, look, I put the work into this. He gave me the tools, but I did this. Like no one else did it as well as I did. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Not just
fostering that creativity that is just so inherent to this industry. We need more of that. We need people who will go out and spend 6 months building the Star Trek battleship.
Well, that's what's great. I always appreciate it when developers give the community the tools to make their own content, because that is oftentimes some of the best. But you don't even have to do it yourself, because there will always be people out there who will put so much time and devotion into making these incredible extensions for the game that just, quite frankly, everybody really benefits from. And Minecraft is really like the epitome of that, because it literally is a game all about creation.
Moving on, I've got a report here that some analysts are saying Xbox One could be Microsoft's last console. Obviously, every new generation of consoles comes with people saying, "Oh, this will be the last one. You guys are done for." But it's interesting, I think, to see actual analysts coming on saying that's a possibility. DFC intelligence analyst David Cole said, "I think this is a possibility. We have always wondered how long Microsoft would stay with the game hardware business. Their strategy for Xbox One clearly looks like it will not be a success on a grand scale." Independent analyst Billy Pigeon disagreed, saying, "Those looking at Microsoft with a high-level perspective as part of the general technology ecosystem have a tendency to think of Xbox strictly as hardware business. Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft have all and still have trouble marketing their game hardware. Regardless of success or lack thereof for the Xbox One, Microsoft consoles add to a market in consumer software." I honestly think, after thinking about it for a while, I would be sad to see Xbox go away in any capacity, because as shiny as the new PlayStation 4 seems, and after the press debacle of just, they had the always online DRM and a bunch of other things like the 24-hour check-in. Since that's gone, Xbox has come back into the limelight a bit, I feel. But if it's gone, then Sony has free reign to do whatever they want. They're doing their policies because they saw how negatively people reacted to it. But if people don't have the control of purchasing either A or B, then we're in trouble. What do you think?
First thing, did you say that second analyst's name, let me get this correct, was Billy Pigeon?
Cool.
Billy Pigeon. Wow, Name of the Year award goes to Billy Pigeon.
I want that name.
And I would have to agree with Mr. Pigeon. He definitely seems more right. The first guy...
you would say his ideas are taking flight?
He said they weren't putting a lot of effort into the launch or something along those lines. Because what I read the other day was that Microsoft is stating that this is their biggest launch for any product ever, and by a very large margin. They've actually managed to get ahead of schedule as far as production on the Xbox, mass production on the Xbox One is concerned.
It's interesting you should say that this is their biggest bone to pick, because I've got a quote here. Asif Khan, CEO of Panoptic Management Consultants, just another one of these analyst firms, I'd imagine, pointing out that the Xbox is, quote, "not what brings home the donuts for Microsoft." The Xbox One may be a tricky move for Microsoft to profit in the long run, but completely leaving the gaming business would be a strange move. Yeah, it doesn't feel... These are multimedia companies. We're not dealing strictly with Nintendo here, who that's all they've done for years. They have their televisions. They have their movie studios to worry about. They have all these things that eat up money from a top corporate level. If they had to chop off a leg, I don't think that they would hesitate to, because these are CEO, old, rich men who just want their Lamborghinis. They don't care that hard. Maybe some of them are gamers, but I don't think. No.
Not as much as others are concerned. All right, we will move on to the next story. The new Pokemon coming out. I myself don't really play it anymore, but for those of you who remember the original starters, all the way back in Generation 1, were Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Well, they're back, and they have a new Mega Evolve form. So once you get to their third stage...
Digimon.
Yep.
Digimon. Digital monsters.
Yep, but you've got to get like the Mega Bracelet and like the Mega Pants. I don't know, but you got it.
Mega Pants, bringing back the 80s.
Yeah, but they're pretty sweet looking. Charizard, they're all bigger, of course, but Charizard now is like... He's like full-on dragon, although he's not a dragon type, which is a little upsetting.
Is it going to be like part of the actual story, I'd imagine? Because usually they always incorporate that like, the story doesn't matter in a Pokemon game. It's just, I'm curious to see, like, because was it Black and White and Black and White 2 sort of broke the mold for a typical Pokemon story. It wasn't just about, like, going around and beating up all these gym leaders. They had a story about, like, should we treat Pokemon as ethically as we treat animals, or better, or whatever you want to say?
Wow. I had no idea about that.
You never
no,
played
well,
that?
I haven't played.
It's
Pokemon
interesting.
Since I was a kid.
It's not going to win a prize or anything.
No, it's no incredible social commentary of our time to define a generation, but Pokemon certainly defined a generation. I like to think.
Yeah.
I put enough hours into it. I'd hope that it made some kind of a positive impact.
Oh, those summers
me
playing Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah.
I think if the world didn't end when we introduced Baby Pikachu, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly all right.
And Blastoise has hand cannons now. His dual cannons on his back have been replaced with one enormous cannon, as well as some hand cannons on his hands. There's one thing you get away from this story. It's that Blastoise will have hand cannons on October 12th.
There you go. That's the show right there. We are done for today. Hand cannons, go home and be merry.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right. I think we're done there for news stories as far as this first segment. I'm excited to see, Lucas, I did the math. If I save $50 a week between now and November 15th when the PS4 comes out, I will have enough money to buy one and maybe a game or two. So basically, I am donating my blood every week twice, and I am refusing to eat.
I'm no doctor, but something tells me you kind of can't do both of those.
Well,
you probably should eat. At least eat before you go get the blood drawn so you don't pass out.
Oh, I don't want to. I want
it's
Watch
for the
Dogs
games.
And... Oh, man. Okay. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to play some music for you. That's just how the show's going to work. We're going to play some video game soundtrack music. Might be Skyrim, might be Uncharted, might be Kingdom Hearts for all I care. And we'll be right back to bring you more news. This is Button Mash and Lucas. Welcome back to Button Mash. I'm your host, Joe Knoop, and with me, as always, is...
Lucas Schmidt.
All right, Lucas, bring us the next news story.
All right, well, Sony's might have something under its hood kind of last minute here in the console race. There's a possibility that the Tokyo Game Show coming up soon, they may debut a virtual reality headset to accompany the PlayStation 4. And apparently they've already got it working with one of their games, Drive Club. It is, if you can't tell by the name, a driving game for the PlayStation 4.
It's actually by the creators of MotorStorm, one of my favorite racing games, and I don't play racing games.
Neither do I. See, I didn't even know that.
It's amazing. There's a lot of racing games out there for the PlayStation and the Xbox right now. But yeah, how is this virtual reality headset going to be any different than the Oculus Rift? Because I would feel like the Oculus Rift has the most public goodwill publicity right now. There's plenty of videos to showcase how awesome the technology is. What is Sony doing to differentiate itself? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, we have no idea because they've shown nothing on it. This is all just like kind of reports from insiders. But of course, the difference is that Sony could make more money off of this because it's their product, not the Oculus Rift. Definitely.
Well, I think that the smartest idea probably would have been for them to purchase Oculus Rift. You know that they have the money, probably.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to just people know Oculus Rift now. People who follow the game industry anyway. For those of you who don't know, Oculus Rift is another virtual reality headset. It's sort of cutting edge technology right now, and it's got to cost hundreds, if not maybe a clean $1,000 to purchase one. They have a couple of custom developed games for it, like Into the Rift, and a couple of virtual reality simulation things. And instead of a cheap sort of goggle system that you might see at like a theme park or something like that, what I've read up on it is that it's sort of transmitting two screens into your eyes at once. If you look at someone wearing it, it kind of looks like they're wearing a television screen that's just been blocked out with the peripheral vision. And I mean, it's interesting to see people react to it because at least for the games that are so well designed that they feel more lifelike. I watched a video once of a couple of people. They had a simulation where you were a medieval times person about to get your head cut off in a guillotine. And people they would turn on the game and they would look up and it would look very realistic. You could look around like, you do in normal life, and then they would look up and they would see the guillotine coming towards them and they would freak out because it looks so realistic. And I think that's just incredible. So we really have to ask, what the heck does Sony think it's doing by putting this out there?
Really, I think they're probably just trying to differentiate themselves from Microsoft. Possibly have more options, more reasons to buy their system. We have no idea, the Oculus Rift, what systems it'll be compatible with. You don't know if it's going to be for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, maybe just PC and Xbox, maybe just PC, maybe just Xbox. We have no idea yet. It's still so far down the line from...
Well, how does this differ? Like, it makes sense. Yeah, game companies want to differentiate themselves from the competition in some manner, either by just being better, by having different experiences. That's why the Wii worked out so well. But people lit cars on fire over the Xbox Ones, forcing them to have Kinect, and nobody likes Kinect. Nobody, and just having this there, it seems like you're dipping your toes in some water that might turn out to be lava. It's incredible. So what's the next news story we've got, Lucas? Actually, no, I got one.
Okay.
Let's go on to this one. Scheduled for January 2014, the Warcraft movie is scheduled to start shooting. The long-awaited Warcraft movie will reportedly begin shooting in January 2014, reports The Escapist. After years of false starts, it appears that the Warcraft, the film, not the game, is finally going into production. Production Weekly, a film and TV production tracking database, tweeted yesterday that Legendary Pictures has set up offices at the Canadian Motion Picture Park in Victoria in order to begin filming on January 13th. The CMPP studio claims to be the largest and newest purpose-built film and TV studio complex in Canada. They are the people who've produced, it's served as home to films and television shows, including Twilight, Watchmen, Tron Legacy, Aragon, Supernatural, Battlestar Galactica, and many others. It looks like Sam Raimi was actually on the bill to help out with this, but he jumped out. I don't know too much about Warcraft. I feel like it's sort of a separate entity from the world of Warcraft, but the fact that we've got an actual video game movie scheduled to shoot, not just greenlit, which for those unfamiliar just means like, hey, we kind of want, the studio officially wants to make this movie, to have it being moved on like this is pretty interesting. What do you think, Lucas?
Yeah, you said it was Warcraft movie, not World of Warcraft?
Warcraft, yeah.
Warcraft, okay. Well, geez, and I'm completely in dark on that one.
This is the
World
problem.
of Warcraft I know a little bit about just from reading articles online and whatnot, and it's just
if I'm
so
not mistaken,
enormous.
If I'm not mistaken, and I might be ticking off a lot of Warcraft fans out here in the university, so I apologize if I get death threats now. I feel like it probably inhabits the same universe as World of Warcraft. I don't play World of Warcraft either, other than a brief stint. But yeah, swords and sorcery kind of deal. I feel like I'm pretty sure it's the same kind of like art style. More like a strategy game rather than MMORPG kind of feel.
I'm just really hoping it does well. I mean, I'm not that big of a fan of it, but we need a good video game. Please, someone answer our prayers and give us a high quality video game movie.
Do you think this is the one though? Because like Warcraft gets it might get people in the seats because World of Warcraft is so synonymous with gaming, but it's synonymous with gaming. It's not really synonymous with people like Tron or Battlestar Galactica or Supernatural, or Twilight even, as the studio that's hosting it also helped out with. Do you think that there's going to be enough push for, even if this does successful, even if people like praise this game, critics just say, you really need to see this, do you think it will even draw a crowd? I don't even know if I want to see it at this point. If it looks incredible,
we've
why
seen
not?
nothing on it at all, so it could
as a
teaser
concept
and you could
though.
be like, man,
as a concept though, because like I can tell you right now, I don't want to see an Uncharted movie because I have the Uncharted experience.
Isn't there an Uncharted movie in the works right now? I know there's an Assassin's Creed. I'm pretty sure there's an Uncharted, and I feel like there's one other.
Bradley Cooper. I think it's Bradley Cooper is signed on to the Assassin's Creed film. They don't know in what capacity yet. The Uncharted movie is kind of another one of those. We'll get to it when we shut the door, run away. I don't know if this will draw a crowd though, but oh well. Let's move on to the next story. Lucas, you got something for us?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5, which I know everybody is looking forward to. Kind of interesting news came out yesterday. Apparently, obviously, it's a Grand Theft Auto game. There's a little bit of gang rivalry in the game. What they did was, for some of the characters, they used voiceovers from real gang members. They actually recruited them, brought them into the studio, and had them use. Then they didn't give them like script and say these lines exactly. They would kind of be like, hey,
sir,
if someone said
please
this,
say these lines.
Yeah,
don't shoot me.
Yeah, one of the guys actually, they said when they brought him in, he had just gotten out of prison the day before. Pretty thug or what?
Thug life.
Yeah, but they did it to maintain authenticity, and I would not be surprised if it works very well. Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar games in general always have wonderful characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the side characters' voice work is pretty interesting, at least to watch. I went back and I watched the trailer for like the general gameplay that they premiered. It may have been E3, it may have been before or after then, but just showing like everything you can do with the voiceover track of the lady. There was a scene where one of the main characters gets back to his house after a bike ride with his son. Ooh, side mission. And the kid just said something like, "Oh, wow, Dad, 30 more of those and I might just not die at the age of 35. And I'm just like, that is hilarious. I want more of this. Please give me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else other than that?
Well, going back to the consoles, Xbox One is going to have the capacity to have 8 controllers play simultaneously. 8 controllers on one console.
Wow.
Which kind of seems like overkill because I'm really trying to think of how you can make a game with that many people playing simultaneously and not just feel complete like just
barred
like,
in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just like
can you hook
kind
up
of drowned in the crowd.
I'm not a very technical kind of person, but can you hook up multiple televisions like that? Because I mean,
to one Xbox.
To one Xbox.
Not that I know of, and not.
I've never even
certainly
been to a
not
LAN
thinking
party.
of like creating 2 completely separate feeds, 2 completely separate images on the screen. I don't see that happening at all. But I mean, maybe it'll be kind of like teams of 4, and they'll take turns because 4 people on one screen certainly works.
Yeah, for the most part. It's interesting that you mentioned I didn't hear that this morning. Because PlayStation just announced that they will have 4-controller support for their console, which I'm pretty happy about. Not because I have friends, but because last time the PS3 only had 2. You could only play with 2, and that kind of upset some people, and me included, because I mean there would be times where playing up until 3 a.m. I remember playing Ghost Recon, Future Soldier, Advanced Warrior, whatever the subtitle was, and we did have to have 2 televisions and just basically play online, but less than 3 feet from each other. So I'm happy to hear about something like that. So okay. I want to talk about something a little serious here. And Lucas, you told me earlier that you haven't heard about this at all. Do you read Penny Arcade at all, Lucas?
From time to time, but
from time to time. Okay, let me give a little back history here before I get into the story proper. Folks, Penny Arcade is a famous web game, or a game webcomic. They update like about 5 days a week, I believe. And it's just a 3-panel comedy strip talking about the game industry or anything they really want. Managed by these 2 guys, Mike Krahulik, and the other one, they're commonly known as Tycho and Gabe. That's their screen names. And they really built this webcomic up from something simple into this massive industry. They now host 3 separate conferences / conventions called PAX East, PAX Prime, and I think one is just literally called PAX. And it does a lot to promote gaming, both video and board gaming, as a healthy lifestyle, and they include a lot of developers in their conferences and in their panels, talking about current issues in gaming, like females in the nerd culture, and how to make better games. So you want to start developing games and stuff like that. And they've also done a lot of charity work through their charity called Child's Play, which through donations and money donations gives games and a couple other various items to children in hospitals who are going to be staying there for a while. So I kind of like that as a concept, giving a kid who's going to stay there a while something to take his mind off of his impending surgery or something. Very, very beneficial. A lot of people love them. But now to the story proper. In 2010, they wrote a comic basically making a joke about say in World of Warcraft, you get a quest to save 20 villagers or kill 5 of these evil dudes, and once you do that number, it's done. The quest is over. In the comic strip, they had a man asking the hero, like, "Please save me," and the guy's like, "No thanks," and the guy's like, "Oh please, we get beaten awake every night," and then the controversial part of his statement came up. They made, I'll be very frank here, a rape joke involving, this hero doesn't want to save this guy from his current plight because he's already completed the quest, and he's like, dude, don't make this weird. It is, and if it had been left alone, it may not have ever came up again. But some people took it offensively, and I completely understand why they do. Basically making making light of sexual assault as a joke. So obviously there was a little bit of fallout after it, and the very next day, Lucas, they released a comic strip, sort of making an apology for it. But the catch was it was kind of a quippy, snarky apology. They essentially said, hey, sorry about that. We're really sorry that people go out and sexually assault other people, and kind of was like, okay, if you just left it at sorry, this would have been done and over with, and but no, it had to go on. So more people got ticked off. More people got involved in writing, like, what is up with these people who through PAX and Child's Play seem so beneficial to the industry and so beneficial to including people to feel like this is their family. Why are they treating this as such a light topic? And just recently, it's kind of come to a head. 3 years later, after Mike Krahulik had made a couple of comments about transgender people that some people, perceived as unenlightened, some people are now claiming that they may pull out of PAX. Some companies, in fact, the company that developed the game Going Home, a popular indie title right now, pulled out of this year's PAX, which just got over with right now, a couple of days back. They pulled out because they weren't feeling comfortable with the way these two guys, Tycho and Gabe, ran their business and treated some people who were angry about these comments that they were making. And I think that that's very sad. Lucas, what do you think about that now that you've got a bit of a story on it?
Well, definitely with their apology, they should have taken it a bit more serious. Obviously, they're a comical kind of type of commentary and whatnot, but it probably would have been better than to have just made a comic, would have been to somehow made just like a separate formal apology about it, and then just kind of did, because a comical comic isn't the way to apologize about such a serious matter.
Yeah, but I think that if it had just been left at that, at the apology, it would have been so much less of an issue. But people and writers will attest to this. People who write for the game industry and people who write anything will say, you don't get to tell me what is and is not appropriate to joke about, and that's true. I feel like that's very true. You can find a context to joke about anything, whether it's something as simple as the differences between men and women, or if it's something as serious as murder or sexual assault. That seems like, but you then, on the flip side of that coin, you don't get to tell people that they can't be offended. And you, as a writer, have to take into account that if I make this assertion that sexual assault or pedophilia or something like that is a funny topic, then I have to live with the reality that some people will disagree with me because it's a very touchy subject. I know a person who was sexually assaulted. I will never say his or her name on the radio, but if I brought that up to them, I have no doubt in my mind that they would feel very uncomfortable around me as a person. To think that that I perceive something that dramatically changed them as a person to be a point of humor. Granted, there is something to say humor can help someone get over a tragedy, but you don't get to decide when they get over that tragedy. You don't get to shove a joke in their face and be like, "Hey, man, I know this happened to you, but laugh about it now." What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know anyone who's ever been sexually assaulted. It's not a topic I'm familiar with. I've never really had to talk to anyone who's gone through it about it. But it definitely is a serious matter, and the video game industry is really often seen as kind of just childish and immature, and it's upsetting, and I'd really like to see people take things more serious when matters such as this, matters of such sensitivity arrive in the video game industry. It'd be nice to see them taken with a little bit more maturity.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to get rid of the misogynistic and the childish aspects of the culture, whether that involves, Xbox's policy of being able to give a score to someone based on how cooperatively they play. Are they calling you nasty names? Are they swearing at you while you're playing a game? We need to get rid of that as a culture, and it's sad to see, even during the fallout of this debacle, there were people coming to the aid of Tycho and Gabe, but in the worst way possible, saying, hey, you guys rock. Like, I want more sexual assault jokes because nobody can tell you what to do. And that's true. Nobody can tell an artist what they can or cannot do. But to actively promote something like that and say, like, I'm going to wear a T-shirt that promotes this to your conference, your convention, is kind of despicable. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, then I'll go and change it to a slightly similar subject, dealing with maturity in games. It came out in an interview yesterday that David Cage, the founder of Quantic Dream, they're the studio who made Heavy Rain back in 2010, and they're making Beyond Two Souls, which is coming out later this year in October. Yeah, and he said it's a PlayStation 3 exclusive, but they did go to Microsoft at first, and he said Microsoft shot them down, that they got scared, and they didn't want the scandal because Heavy Rain has, it's a very narrative-heavy game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it had themes of kidnapping in it, child kidnapping, and Microsoft just didn't want to deal with that, which is something that happens every now and then with either publishers or whatnot. They'll shoot down developers because they want to tackle sensitive issues, and the publisher just gets cold feet because video games don't fare well in media when they do controversial things, because everybody just points and screams, oh, it's a game, it automatically makes it bad. Like, for some reason, video games aren't allowed to deal with the war in Afghanistan, but for some reason movies and books, all other forms of art can deal with it, but when it comes to a game, suddenly it's immature and it's childish. Years ago, they were making a game called 6 Days in Fallujah, and Konami was the publisher, but after it got some negative publicity in the news, they canned it. They canned it, and the developer wasn't able to find a new publisher, and the game ended up getting canned permanently.
Probably a lot of people lost
never
their jobs.
Came out.
See, that's the thing, is when people who don't play these things perceive them as literally a game. When you or I, or someone who may be listening who's been playing games since they were a child, perceives us as much more of an in-depth literary or interactive form of art, and it's no surprise that, like, a big company like that wanted to avoid a touchy subject, because that's their right. They can choose, if they want to release nothing but cute Kirby games for the rest of their life. As a company, they can do that. But it's the companies that do take risks, like Naughty Dog with The Last of Us. I won't spoil it for anyone who still hasn't played it. What are you doing with your life, by the way? But the opening scenes in there are absolutely gut-wrenching for the depths that they go to. And even by the end of the game, as I finished it, I was furious. I was walking around my house, and it doesn't matter that it raised an angry reaction on me or a sad, misunderstanding reaction on me. It made this game, this bits of code, made me feel overswept with emotions.
It made you feel.
It made me feel.
Yeah, that's the
and
thing.
something in a war scenario. Call of Duty is the worst example of anything like that, because it's a game that's marketed to kids who just don't know any better.
No, I wouldn't say it's marketed to kids. I'd say it's marketed
to
everyone, really. I mean,
everyone, to appeal to the widest possible ratio. That's why it sells 6 billion copies.
It sells 6 billion copies because they nailed a great formula back in 2007, and they've just stuck with it ever since, and it's gone on to be the 10-ton gorilla of the video game industry.
And even,
you don't mess with Call of Duty.
And even
it sells tens of millions.
Even in games like that, though, where we bombard them with criticism for being, appealing to the masses and not doing anything different after a while, there are still plenty of moments in those games where they do kind of affect you profoundly. The first Modern Warfare game did this in spades, where you thought you were playing this American soldier in an unnamed Middle Eastern country, and you die in a nuclear explosion. I'm sorry if I spoiled that for anyone. It's only been out 8 years. And something like that, where you expected the guy to get out of there because he's a big, tough action game hero.
And you're playing it.
And you're playing it, yeah. You don't expect to die, but they did that anyway, and they killed a soldier in probably one of the most gruesome ways possible. And people may have felt terrible about that. Like, why did I have to watch that? Why did I have to play that? But that's the point of the artistic statement, is to say, yes, why did you have to play that to feel this sense of sorrow that scene in the game wanted to create? Or even with a more modern example, the Modern Warfare 2 with the airport scene where you have to gun down innocent people, got a huge amount of negative press because they were forcing you to go through this airport posing as a terrorist. But nobody you could even opt out of it at that point after enough people complained. They gave you the option, but I felt that it was sort of an interesting way to present that part of the story, because they could have just done it in a cutscene and maybe people would have still cried the same amount. But to put you in the shoes and to make you experience, the villain's side of the story, I think is a effective narrative tool.
Yeah, it is. If you don't mind, though, I'd like to go and change the subject.
Absolutely.
Okay. So there's an elementary school out in Berkeley, California, and, group of 10-year-old friends. One of them got deported back to Mexico, and his friends have been trying to set petitions up, YouTube page, Facebook page, and all this, trying to raise money to get him back, trying to work with the U.S. immigration system to just bring him back, but they couldn't, unfortunately. So what they've decided to do as an alternative is they got Minecraft, and their friend back in Mexico got Minecraft, and now they all take turns kind of playing with each other, and I just thought it was a very heartwarming story to listen to. It was featured in the LA Times. It's a great read. I encourage everyone to read it. But I just think it's a great testament to just kind of how video games specifically have kind of changed the way we interact with each other. Mm-hmm. Obviously, social network is huge, but social network is limited. Video games offer a shared experience. Their biggest thing is interactivity. Mm-hmm. That's the large thing. Video games offer more interactivity than anything at all, or any other medium I can think of. And so now they basically can hang out, because rather than just like, Facebook or Twitter, you simply talking to them, maybe sharing a couple pictures or videos or something, mm-hmm. you can actually have an action. Be with someone. And it has an equal and opposite reaction, so you can interact with each other in a virtual space. Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely heartwarming.
Yeah, it's a testament to how games bring us together, even in light of situations like the Penny Arcade debacle or controversy with how games are presented. To share that experience is something important and that we shouldn't really throw away so easily, and I appreciate that story. Thank you, Lucas. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Button Mash BSU. I'm your host, Joe Noop, and on with me as always is Lucas Schmid. Kind of a late-breaking story here. There's been an update to the Mega Man creator has kickstarted something called Mighty Number 9. The Escapist reports Mighty Number 9 is an all-new Japanese side-scrolling action game that takes the best aspects of the 8 and 16-bit era classics you know and love and transforms them with a modern tech, fresh mechanics, and fan input into something fresh and amazing. So basically, it sounds like Keiji Inafune, the creator of Mega Man, has sort of left the corporate umbrella of Capcom, who obviously wants to maintain the rights to Mega Man, and gone and created a spiritual successor to the beloved series. Project is being spearheaded by Inafune himself. He's bringing an all-star team, it says, including the level designer from the original Mega Man, Naoya Tomita, Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Darkstalkers 3 character designer Kimo, original Mega Man composer Manami Matsume, which I'm excited about, and Mega Man Legends art director Shinsuke Kamaki. I can talk. I'm a radio host, I promise. Sounds really interesting. We'll bring you another update on that next week if we can. For now, this has been a really good show, Lucas. I think for a first time, we didn't mess up too hard.
It was a solid run, I'd say. I'd love to have put my voice into that Mega Man story, but I feel I'm ashamed to say that I.
Well, what do you guys say about the Mega Man story?
A Mega Man. I've
never finished
played
it?
Mega Man. Really.
Okay.
I've probably played like a little bit here and there maybe, but as for like gotten it, I couldn't tell you a thing about it other than that he's got a giant cannon for a hand, which is pretty cool. I respect it.
Hand cannons. It's all about the hand cannons.
It is. Blastoise, Mega Man. That's the theme for today. Hand cannons.
Hand cannons. Okay, guys, this has been Button Mash BSU. You can find us on Twitter at Button Mash BSU. We'll be accepting questions every Wednesday before we record. I'll send out a tweet saying, hey, now tweet us your questions. We're working on making a Facebook page. Should be up by the time the show is out, so feel free to find us on there.
Which will also be
Button Mash BSU. Yep. And I'm your host, Joe Noop.
And I'm also a host, Lucas Schmidt.
And this has been a great show. Thank you so much, guys. Peace out.